making cookies because my mom and my roommate have been giving me shit since last night about my cooking because they don't like my experimental cooking. So then I am making cookies, but I'm trying food coloring in them for the first time because I still need to nourish my creative soul somehow. Oh, okay, doesn't open. I don't know how to open this. While I'm struggling to open this, I'm gonna get into the rest of what I want to talk about because you know I started to go back into the history and like thinking back about things and talking, in a lighthearted kind of like whatever way that I talked about my exes. I didn't even include most of them. Well, like I didn't include the ones that like broke my heart that much. And the thing about it all, like the thing about long-term romantic relationships, the thing about like the type of relationships that like break my heart is that like I make that fantasy and sometimes people are in it with me and sometimes they're not, right? Like sometimes they take a different approach, kind of thing. And they just, especially when it comes to creative types, which is what I'm attracted to, it's just creative differences, right? When we're like making a fantasy. And sometimes you make compromises, sometimes you just like go with the flow, and sometimes it's just they're crossing a boundary and you just can't continue anymore. Now, that's the part that is sad, simply, right? You just have creative differences about how a relationship would go. Like, you saw different possibilities, and I like to be heard, but I also am very quick to criticize myself and act like my ideas are not worth exploring a lot of times. So the thing the thing about like relationships that break my heart is that I can look back and judge myself for falling into a relationship, for like believing in a fantasy where the other person did not meet my expectations, and be angry at myself for falling for that person, for like believing in that person when they are not able to live up to the fantasy that I believed them to. Like, I put them on a pedestal and then they were not able to deliver, and then I get mad at myself. Like, it literally happened, like, with some of my exes. Like, I have judged them for, like, oh my god, like, how did I love this person who is, like, so dumb? Or, like, how did I believe this, like, person, like, religiously when they were, like, not everything that I wanted them to be. Like, they were not everything that I expected them to be. And the thing is, looking back at your exes with anger is what gets you to hate yourself and not trust yourself. Like, it's basically like looking back at your old projects, your old ideas, and judge yourself for them. You'd be like, oh my god, what was I thinking? Like, blah, 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 blah. That's just like you judging your own, like, creative power, your own, like, creative process, what you believed in, and then that, like, resentment is toxic for your own soul. I'm not saying I haven't fallen into that. Like, if you follow my, like, social media for, like, any amount of time, you notice, like, when I go through, like, relationship turmoil, I get messy. I go up and down and all the way. There's just a lot that will come out of me when I'm, like, going through that. And the thing is, like, thing is, at the end of the day, looking back at yourself, looking back at your own ideas, looking back at the people that you once loved and believed in, even though they didn't end up to be the person that you wanted them to be, will increase your sense of self compassion. Like, because the judgment that, like, I have given my past lovers who didn't live up to my expectations, the anger that I've given myself for believing in someone who didn't turn out to be who I wanted them to be. It doesn't work that way, you know? It I just fall into the cycle of criticism, judgment, self-hatred, and something I've always said, something I actually believe in, is that when you judge someone else for something, you will not, like, sometimes in the future, you will be that person. Like, that's the, I don't know, call it karma, call it self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever mental synchronicity that like you create. That's the thing, like you judge someone for acting a certain way, for behaving in a certain way, for being someone that you were, you know, someone that you idolized and then they didn't turn out to be that person. And you will become that person for someone else, for someone who loves you, and then you will disappoint them the same way that you felt disappointed. Like, I don't know, call it whatever you want to call it, but that is how the cycle of the universe works. Like, that is how life works. I genuinely believe in that. So, the trick is when you're feeling down, when you're in a situation where you're judgmental of yourself, you're jealous of not being able to get where you wanted to get, for being somewhere that you don't expect yourself to be, it helps to realize you are exactly where you are. The same way that, like, all those past lovers that maybe I judged, that maybe I criticized, were exactly in the right place in their journey at the time. And I just didn't want to see that, you know? I didn't want to meet them where they were. I saw the potential in them. I saw the possibility of who they could be. And then I was disappointed that they didn't turn into someone I wanted them to be. And I hated myself for believing in them. But in time, over time, they grew to their own person. They became who they were meant to be at their own time. And they came back and were I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, do I really need them to be grateful of me for seeing their potential? Or they can just be who they want to be, regardless of what I imagine for them, because it's their life. The same way that my life is my life. And I go towards the place that I want to go, not where people who love me expect me to go, right? Finally, putting these cookies in the oven.